This is Richard Montanez, a janitor working in Frito-Lay, and he was the mastermind behind the Flamin' Hot Cheetos. His story was incredibly complicated, and it was filled with the incredible amount of motivation, but also lies. So it's the 1980s, Richard Montanez was actually working as a janitor for the Frito-Lay factory when he received a videotape from the CEO Roger Enrico that said to take initiative towards the company and just act like you're the owner. Now Roger actually sent this videotape to everyone in the factory, but when Richard heard this, he felt obligated to do something for this company. So when he was in the grocery store, he saw every product that the Frito-Lay company made, and he found a very big problem. That problem was that everything was basic and boring. So he took a regular Cheeto bag and added spices to make the flavor pop, and he found the perfect spices to make the Cheeto flaming hot. He immediately called the CEO's office to tell him about this new idea, but the secretary answered and she was stunned that a janitor had an idea like that. But she transferred the phone to the CEO and he loved this idea. Roger told Richard that he needed to make a presentation and that he will show it to the executives. And when he did show this presentation, they were amazed and they wanted to make it instantly. And his idea became a worldwide favorite for millions and he became an executive. Life was going good until everything went downhill right after this LA Times article. Man who didn't invent Flamin' Hot Cheetos. But why would anyone make this article? It's not even a big deal. Well, it is for Lynn Greenfield because she states that she created this Flamin' Hot Cheetos fresh out of business school. But how? So Frito-Lay actually conducted an investigation to see where this idea came from, and it turns out to be completely different than what Richard said. He says 1989, salesmen from Frito-Lay were investigating the popularity of spicy chips that were in Chicago and Detroit. They found that it's very popular, so they went to the Frito-Lay corporate offices to tell them this information. And who do you think was tasked to make this new Cheeto? Yes, you guessed it, Lynn Greenfield. So fresh out of business school, she was stuck in the corporate offices of Frito-Lay. But here is where the stories collide, because both Frito-Lay and Lynn say that the Flaming Hot Cheeto concept was made in 1989. But Richard started speaking about this whole thing in 2000s. So it took Lynn 18 years to speak about this. That's kinda odd. But then you start to think about the executives that Richard showed the presentation to. Well, the LA Times interviewed them and they said that if they saw this presentation, we would know. Well, Richard might have not said the truth. Alright, so the executives might have not saw the presentation, but what about the CEO? After all, he did inspire Richard to make this product and he gave him the green light, so he has to know if he actually did this. But like everything in the story, there's kind of a problem. Roger wasn't even the CEO at that time. Here, let me explain. The first release of the Flaming Hot Cheeto was in 1991, the same year that Enrico became CEO. And Enrico passed in 2016 without saying a single word about this whole thing. But then something unexpected happens, like everything in the story. Remember that secretary that answered the phone for Richard in the beginning? Well, she actually came out and said that that actually happened, but it happened in 1993, and it wasn't even for Flaming Hot Cheetos. It was actually for a product called Flaming Hot Popcorn. But here's the thing with all of this, Frito-Lay never actually said anything about the LA Times article, or even about Richard when he was saying that he created Flamin' Hot Cheetos. He was interviewed multiple times and published multiple books. They even made a movie about him and Frito-Lay said nothing. It's all just a bunch of lies that one person is saying to the other. Whether Lynn is right or Richard is right, one thing is for sure, Flamin' Hot Cheetos are actually pretty good.